Educational institutions must align training with the market demand. That is the only way we can be able to reduce the unemployment, because once the trained skill or the skills that are trained are not needed in the market, it's as good as training someone who will eventually be unemployed. Another critical point is the institutionalization. Youth engagement must depend not just on personality, but on what the real needs of the young people are. We must have a budgeting system that caters for the core needs of young people, and not just a budgeting system that is determined by the wishes of the people that make those budgets. Inclusive prosperity is not a slogan. It is measurable, and it must be able to meet the targets as well as have a sustained investment. To conclude, homegrown youth engagement is not charity. It is a strategy and an expenditure. It's an investment that is worthwhile for today and for the future. And for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we recognize this. That is why in the recent years, we have expanded on our National Youth Service Program, as well as including the graduate program that targets university students. But in addition, we are investing more into the agricultural sector with our training center in the Chairman in GSI, as well as our National Enterprise Development Initiative with the grants and loans that we provide to young people to support them to be who they want to be in the future. But that is just about youth empowerment. The sports sector continues to grow, and ministry or government through the ministry continue to invest more money in developing the infrastructure and ensuring that our young people are given an opportunity to participate both at the local level as well as at the international level. The outcome is that today we pride in that sports is one of the greatest exporter of expatriates and talent outside the Gambia in a legal and normal way of migration. So ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the issues we have to say here. But once again, we appreciate the opportunity that the ministry and our sectors are part of this dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, for that detailed description. I was almost expecting that he was going to say it finally after his conclusion as well, but thank you. So I'll invite Mr. Alfasar to deliver his reflection based on the topic, giving perspective as a youth entrepreneur from GCCI.
Okay, good afternoon to you all. All protocols are highly respected and observed. My name is Alfie Msar. I'm a farmer, a Domi Baykat. I'm also a proud member of GCCI. Yes, I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2018 after when the government launched the Youth Empowerment Project that was spearheaded by the ITC, International Trade Center, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Sport and Ministry of Trade and Industry. Through 2018, I was able to register my business. What I have was my vision, but there was no capital. But I still believe that I can, I can gear up my business interest. My first investment was the mini grant. That was 47,000. Some people were saying it's small, but I utilized it wisely with a lot of financial discipline, and I was able to mobilize within this past 8 years around $6 million here, both national and international levels. Currently, I'm part of the few young people that are selected by the Ministry of Youth and Sport to benefit from the IPSA fund. That's the India, Brazil, and South Africa Cooperation Fund, to support young people who are in agribusiness. And currently, they already drilled a borehole for me, 62 meters. I think once that project is finished, I will be able to say goodbye poverty. Because it was never easy. All these 6 months, 6 million, sometimes you have the belief, you have the passion. Access to finance is always a problem. Our financial system is not conducive sometimes. There was a time I was banking with a bank. At the time, I went to apply for a loan. I was asked to bring a collateral. Though I registered my business in NBR, when I come with those land documents to present them as collateral, I was told to go and get a lease document within the greater Banjul area. And it was a challenge for me. I went all over, there was no support. There was a time I was shortlisted by Rus Project on a 4P matching grant. So that project, I was supposed to mobilize 80% of the necessary fund to establish my enterprise. But at the end of the day, there was no bank that was willing to support us, over 5 of us. It was about $250,000 project. So the Roots project, the way they were designed, at least 20% has to come from the Roots, about $2.5 million. So they asked us to go and mobilize 10 million. There was nowhere to get these funds. But still now, I still have the hope. I continue with my business. I take micro loans from Islamic microfinances because I don't want riba, So I partner with UNAM Islamic Microfinance and Supersonics. Sometimes they give me flexible loans, which I was able to manage. So thank God, the ministry, they recognize my efforts and they still want to support me. They never want me to work alone. So out of many, I was selected to be part of the IPSA fund. So the ball is drilled. I'm expecting a 30,000 liter capacity water tank plus irrigation system. So by the end of March, inshallah, that project will be completed. And once that is completed, definitely, I can stand and say that the government is not leaving us alone. For GCCI, since 2018, before I joined GCCI, many people were discouraging me. They said it's a Banjul Chamber of Commerce. They are only there to support Banjulians, and the Kombonkans. But I told my people that I proved them wrong, because for me, wherever I put my money, I make sure that it add value on me. So when I came to GCCI, they said they have a program called Japale Jula. I registered with that. But that 500, I give them headache every time I come. I just say only, these are my business plan, can you support me? Even the former president, Mr. Jagana, I always send Mr. Jagana email. This is my business plan. Can you please give me technical advices? For us, sometimes whenever we have a program, they invite people like Tuff, King Saul, and others. These people, they always inspire us. So I also have the belief that whatever the order, I can also be like them. So I never give up throughout the past 8 years. At the North Bank region, the first year of Tekifi, when I went to NACU, because NACU was part of the implement partners, I asked them how many young people from North Bank benefited from this project, and I was told that only 16. But when I was in Birkama, I see a lot of people benefit from this project. So I questioned why. So the major problem was many of these people were asked to present business registration certificate, and there's no business registration trade in the rural areas. It's only Banjul and Kanifing. So I told my people that hence I know how to register. Wherever any person who is willing to register his own business, I can help you to facilitate that. So only way, sometimes I will carry more than 5 or 10 ID cards and TIN numbers, plus there are 500s to register business for them. So it's a big challenge. Still now, we still need a digital system, whereas we can sit down in Dofan or anywhere in Julungel to register our business. And also, I found out that many of these people also don't have this entrepreneurial trainings that they can use to apply for these grants. So I partnered with GCCI and IMVF. IMVF was a Portugal NGO and implementing partner to the Tekifi project. So I told GCCI that why don't we partner with IMVF so that we can also help other young people in North Bank so that they can register and able to get this training. So that at the end of the day, the number can increase. But Alhamdulillah, after the Tekifi project, it was reported about 66 young people in North Bank from Bao to Palo, they were able to get the 250,000 grants to support themselves. And also the IOM also supported not only returnees, but also possible migrants, because we all know that North Bank is, we are a big victim of the illegal migration. For me and my colleagues, we form an association called the NBR Young Entrepreneurs Association. This association, what we use is to unlock the economic opportunities that are available in this country we share to our own people through a platform. Whereas also we support them to have market linkages and market informations, so that whenever they produce, they know where to sell their products. And also when it's time for trade fair, I always come to GCI and tell that I want my people to be part of the trade fair. So people all the way from Nyomi and Badibu, they always come and participate. And through that, they were able to get connection with other support or investors. So the government cannot do it alone, but we also we cannot do it on our own self. We have to talk to each other in the best interest of our nation. So for me, I don't. The day I stopped complaining about youth employment, that is the day I started progressing. Because all the way, if I came to Combo and I was able to get a job, but in Dofan I can get a free land. And you know, if I raise my papayas for maybe 1,000 papaya seedlings, if I sold it, I can get 220,000 within 2 months. And the investment that I will put in is just less than $20,000. So at the end of the year, I can even earn more than the banker who is down here. So it's all about we believe ourselves. And also, if you believe in yourself and also financial discipline, every time there's a concert, there are a lot of walis, there are a lot of Yusundus in and outs. So this is not helping us. You are complaining about youth employment, but anytime when Wali is here, you always be there. When ST is there, we attack everybody. So we have to manage a little what we have. Definitely, 2018, those who know me in 2018, when I was registering my business, I was having no bank account, no employment, nothing. But when I was able to believe myself and manage that funding, there was a time there was one research institution. They said they were evaluating the impacts of the Techifi project. So when I give them the numbers, they say, wow, but we never know this was how YEP was able to have impacts on the young people. I said that for me, I don't know for others, but my belief was, let me start from an initiative, manage it well, and I turn it to an enterprise. Now I'm running an LLC, just like my boss. So I think believe one day or the other, I can be there. That's my belief. So I'm also encouraging other young people. Look at the social problem within your community. Turn them into a business idea. The support system is here. The Giraffe project, especially those who are in agriculture. The roots is here. The P2RS, a lot of projects under the Ministry of Agriculture. So if you sit and complaining, these people, they will buy their products and everything and they go there. So we have to capitalize. You know, this is our funds. It's meant for the young people. But when we sit down complaining and we are not trying to fix the dots, definitely this project will phase out and there is really no impact or less minimal impact on us. I want to thank you all. I thank GCI also for doing this platform.
Thank you, Mr. Alfasar. Inspiring that is. Now at this juncture, we'll ask the question as to, given what is at hand, how do we explore that for inclusive prosperity? I'll leave that question and take it back to the floor. If we have contributions, be it questions or comments, please you can raise your hand so that we can have them assist. Yes, 10 minutes for that.
Thank you very much, MC.
You may want to stand, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC, and thank you all the panelists who have taken the floor this morning, since morning, especially the latest ones. I think this particular session is very important. Important in the fact that it's directly, talking about how do we empower our youth. If you look at what is happening here with the irregular migration menace, I think government and partners, development partners, should focus on how do we empower our youths to deter or to cope this menace. Listening to SAR, he's coming from the North Bank, and you have many of the SARs who can follow his examples. I know the Ministry of Youth and Sports are trying, but I think this is an opportunity where government should redirect more efforts in trying to empower youths, trying to harness their potentials to be able to produce many SARs as he is seated here. We've listened to his story, And I think there is hope in this country that we can have people like him. If the enabling environment is improved, further improved, we should be able to create more jobs, get our youths involved, especially in the agricultural sector, to be able to stay put in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Yes, Ali.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the word I have for Mr. Sarr that was just missing in your excellent presentation was two things. I was expecting that you will say you have employed this number of young people, one. Two, I was expecting to hear that you indicate that you are mentoring this number of young people. I think mentorship is very, very fundamental. Every success Gambian should think of mentoring others to be like you. Please, if you go back, take that word with you, mentorship. How are you going to mentor some other people? We can hear from the interventions that things are happening. Although they are scattered, they are not properly coordinated. Every sector has a policy, but I think there are some policy gaps that when we address those policy gaps, the issue of young people would be addressed. One, coordination across sectors. Coordination across sectors. My sector needs to know what the MOHAS is doing. How do we partner with them to address this youth empowerment? Reliable youth data for evidence-based planning. Where can we get a reliable youth data for evidence-based planning? If you don't have good data, you cannot do evidence-based planning, and that's also something we need. Sustainable financing local models. We need to be able to identify the successful financing local models so that we can replicate it in other parts of the country. And also, very important, I think since we agree that the majority of our population are young people, I think the youth policy now should be treated as a cross-sector economic planning tool. We need to do that. If we do that, then it will reflect in our budget. But if you look at the youth sector, my ministry, for example, my budget is like a token. And you are talking about 75% of the population be young people. So it's a problem. As a nation, we should also be able to track success. We should also be able to measure, to track, for example, one, youth unemployment and business survival rates. How many of our young people are getting into the business? How many of them are surviving and how many of them are failing, and why? Why are others succeeding and why are others failing? We need to have that track. Access to financing. Access to financing. If we can identify or we are able to track access to financing, because information is there, but it's not reaching out to other people. Regional equity in program delivery. That is important. Reduction in social vulnerability indicators. How do we reduce social vulnerability indicators? It's still very high. How do we reduce that? Participation of young women and vulnerable groups. Because I think this is important that we are able to track. I believe that what gets measured gets improved. If you don't measure, we cannot improve. Because you need to measure to see where you are at, then you know how to improve on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a female contributor here.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to each and everyone. My name is Ndai Sumare Ojelere, Lady Councillor of Bundum. My first question goes to Mr. Gomez from Higher Education. You've talked about skills are essential to young Gambians, which I take that one as a very important point. For the nowadays, what I observed and what should be implemented from the primary school level, for the skills, most of them that finish the high school, Some don't have that opportunity to go to university. Most of them are loitering around. But if that is being nurtured from primary, most of the Western, you see that they have those skills. You go to, when you come to like robotic or any other skills that we can train the primary school kids, I think that will be a plus to our education sector. The second one is that for Mr. Baji, Honorable Baji, there is a question I want to ask you. For the youths and sports, you've been doing very well. We have to say that to you. But there is one thing you've mentioned which I want to add something to that. That's the migration. Most of our youths are going through the back way, which we all know that is a big problem nowadays. This thing has been happening more than a decade now. They are going to back way, 7 days, all those things they are going. I think, to me, what I will say is that your office, for we the lady councillors too, and your office, we need to collaborate more. Because in our constituencies, we have a lot of youths that are dropout, sitting at home without doing anything. And it's so frustrating in our constituencies. Some of them are into drugs. Some of them went through back way. And for the back way, I know for Minister for Interior, they are the one responsible for the IOM. But these are the youths in, the ones in Libya. Please, if we, or if anybody can investigate the office in Libya, most of them there, when they get sick, to go to their main general hospital, they don't have a room where they will sleep for treatment. So before they reach to that place, sometimes it's really a big problem. I don't have the chance but to communicate to the minister or their permanent secretary. But as you are here, the youths are looking up to you. Mr. Baji, please, I am begging you. You see how best you can speak to them. If they can rent a house for them there, because when they leave Sabah or any other place to come for treatment, they don't have a house where they will sleep for the following day to get to the hospital. It's a big challenge for them there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take one there from Aliu's side, and we'll take another one from Mavinta's side.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Maa ngi tudd Ousmane Sarr dëkk Talinding. Maa ngi nuyu ministre bi nga xam ne moo jiite programme bi yépp. Man fi ma waxee man businessman la ci business bi la jëm. Fi ma dalee mooy dalasi bi dafa dee. Tala bi dafa dee. Pound bi dafa dee. 10 dalasi bi dafa dee. 20 dalasi fi leen jëm fi leen ñoo ko rey gaa yi ko rey. Doomu Australie mu ngi doon jar tala mënoo ko am tala nga ñëw si dalasi mënatoo ko am 5 dalasi mënatoo ko am 10 dalasi mënatoo ko am 20 dalasi mooy benn doomu Australie muy benn kon dalasi bi gaa yi rey nañ ko ba pare. Gannaaw loolu ñun businessman lañ dañoo luyaas bitik bi soo ñëwee pour bugg ko luyaas pour war de soo continuer foofu bagage dañ laa wax ne dollar ngay fay ñun amuñ pound amuñ dollar amuñ euro ñun dalasi lañ am. ñun dalasi lañ am moo ñoo yar fii moom lañ amee fii ba dundoo ba léegi si dalasi la ñoo dund xamuñ pound xamuñ dollar xamuñ euro ñun dalasi lañ xam lu waral gars yi léegi fi mu ne biti yi Banjul yépp ifin luya si sax dollar ngay fay lu waral loolu léegi man li ma bëgg government na jóg su jógu dalasi bi dana dee pak pour ko gis because of li ne si gannaaw ñun ñi ne si biir ñoo ko xam waaye ñi toog si biir office yi xamuñ ko de ñun ñoo ko xam kon war ngeen ñoo dimbale ngir yàlla ak yonante ba ngir yàlla ak yonante ba because of fi mu ne nii booy fay $1 million place ñu ne dollar nga koy fay léegi nga order Bangkok wala nga order China nga def ko transit Sénégal port bi dafa seer ñu ne nga jël bagage boobu la war a jaay piis bi bii nga war koo jaay $100 nga ñëw ñu ne $200 seru ñiy jënd bagage yi xam nañ li may wax bitig benn bitig Gambia tout ifin Banjul sax am benn bitig bu faa fay dalasi billahi wallahi dollar rek ngay fay soo ko fay doo am place salaamaaleykum wa rahmatulah.
Jerejef Papa. So we'll take two more, just two more. We can take two more. So the rest of the questions, we can keep it for the subsequent panel discussion, because that panel will take you from the discussions that we are having here right now. Please, just two more.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Modu Sise. I am a backward returnee, represented youth against irregular migration. My question goes to the Minister of Higher Education. I just want to ask whether your minister is aware that you are losing potential elites who could have been saved by scholarship opportunities. And I was one of them who nearly lost my life in the Sahara Desert because I couldn't get scholarship opportunities. And I came back home. Despite all, I am at the University of the Gambia, but as an organization, we have referred many migrants to your ministry. We don't get response, no acknowledgement. And I personally, despite all those challenges, I am paying for myself going to the university. And I have written to your ministry 4 times, August, September, October, and my last letter was November 22nd. No response, no acknowledgement. What is your minister doing for you, for returnees who come from the back way, and for those who are nearly losing their lives in the back way? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take just one more, Mavinta.
Yes.
Let's have someone from the back.
We are just taking, sorry, gentlemen, we can do that yours later, please. We'll take one from the back, and you can keep your question for the subsequent one, please.
Azubillahi mina seytaani rajim, bismillahi rahmani rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Maa ngi tudd Aji Demba Dafe. Man may jigéen ñi fekkee ñetti jamono PPP, APRC, MPP. Waaye li ma fi indi nag bi mooy ñaari yoon maa ngi fekkee dialogue bi ci njiitalu Ba Fodi Jabi, the chairman, Council of Elders. Right now, Bajani Gohla, Joshua consequence. Di nuyu Bakari Waay Baji, maa yaayam maa ko jur. su ma fa jógee maa ngi nuyu Mr. Sarr di nuyu high table bi di nuyu Minister of Higher Education nuyu naa mboolem kilifa bu fi teew di la wax asalaamaaleykum wa rahmatullah taala wa barakatuhu. su ma fa jógee maa ngi nuyu suma able lady council aussi di leen tagtagal di leen gërëm ci seen njàmbaar yaa parce que desu leen gannaaw su nguur gi jàppee fii ngeen jàppa fii ñu jàppa fii réew mi mun a dem fi moo dem. Mr. Sarr nge wax léegi yëfi xaalis bi bi mu daanoo yàgg na bala fi Yaya Jammeh di jóge price control daf fi amoon amatut dalasi bi mu dee du tey man fekkee naa time tànka ñetta transu ñeneenti koppar bu tuut bu rëy time boobu saaku ciment mu ngi jar 26 léegi ñu toog ba jëndee saaku ciment juróomi téeméer ak lu tegal loolu du tey loolu defe naa président dañ war a toog waxtaana moom mu toog waxtaana jula yi ñu dellu siwaat Gambia démba fi mu nekkoon ndax nit ñi mën a am jaama loo daan jëndee $10 léegi $100 nga ko jëndee looy jëndee $100 léegi yaa ngi ko amee $1000 ma ñëw ci Mr. Sarr ci li moo wax ci yëfi youth si pour employment Gambian si implementation mënuñ ko dañooy door waaye duñ sottal luñ wax ñu ne waaw teg ko benn boor xam nga fan lañu Sénégal rawe Adama Barrow am na wërsëg nguuram neex na ku ne amul wërsëg rek wala ku ne nguur neexul rek dang cee bokku ñu ñaan yàlla rek yàlla lafal ko cat waaye dafa des nag li des ñan ñoo ko motali ñun doom aadama yi nekk ci suuf ñun ñu nekk ci région si nekk ci conséquences yi nekk ci gox yi ñun ñoo mun a xeex loolu Adama Barrow kenn mun ta xeex loolu Missa Sarr Dakar borom aleli na Adama Barrow wax ak ñoom yu su bare duñ fi toog bu ñoo wàcca school ñu leen defar ay kéwos joo leen xaalis ñu dem liggéey kon sàcca gi ak drogue bi ak bagwe bi dina génn Gambia borom alal yi ngeen naa dugal ci seen biir ñu jàppale ndawi réew mi fii lañ juddoo fii lañ màggee te liñ am fii lañ koo indi kon lañ waxa borom alal yi doo am sa alal rek toog sa kër su sa soxla jotee nga faj ko di seetaan ba doola bi nga dendoon
baax na jërëjëf
soo toogee sax nga tooga lu neex sa dëkkandoor mu xeeñ ko amut danga ko war a dimbale Gambien si duñ koo def ba weeri koor bi jot du saf su weeri koor bi passé ñu daga ko ngeen baalal ma
jërëjëf yaa boy. So apologies for the many of you that would want to ask questions. It's because we are way behind time.
Madam MC, I think I was already given the mic. Please, in 1 minute, let me just say what I wanted to say. And this one goes to for Mohas. Hence he mentioned, I am Amadou Kamara, by the way, the youth chairperson for West Coast region. Hence he said, skill training is not just a secondary thing. But for me, I'm taking it that the ministry, or in fact as a country right now, we are taking it to be a secondary thing. Because where are we starting our skill training? Tertiary level. That is, if you fail English and maths, you cannot get to university or college. That's why you go to skill training. So it's obvious that it's a secondary thing. We have seen MOPSI coming in a lot of interventions right now. The RISE project, the MIS, so many interventions. But none of it is talking about TVEC area. Among all the interventions, it's all about how to get letter numeracy, literacy, and as well as reading ability. And where is that one taking us to? So for me, Mohas, because we have a university now, a USET, so there should be that grassroots to feed that USET. Not actually people who are unable to get university entry requirements to go there, but it will start at the grassroots. There should be that collaboration in terms of curriculum delivery to make sure that people get from the primary school, upper basic, and you go on. But it will dishearten you. You go to certain schools that we call technical schools, where there are not even a technical teacher. You have a school that we call agricultural specialized school, where you don't have certain agri-based teachers in those schools. So for me, it should start from at the grassroots to make sure that there is that collaboration in terms of curriculum. Because if not, the blames we will always be talking about the Ministry of Youth and Sports, like the PS rightly mentioned. 60-something% population, youth population. We are only looking at Mohas in terms of their staffing, youth and sports. Because they have small number of staff, we call it a small ministry. But in actual sense, they are the biggest, because 68% of the entire country's population is what they are dealing with. And yet still, they receive the smallest part of the budget because of the staff they have. So this has to be something that we need to honestly look at. Okay. In the area of agriculture, for schools, for instance,
you said 1 minute.
Sorry, let me just finish this one. In terms of fisheries, it will not make sense, let's say, to go to, let me say, a particular community in Jara that has no connection to the sea or river and have fisheries there. But in West Coast region, we have the belt, the entire belt, and there are senior secondary schools there. They are not doing fisheries as a subject in their schools. So these are people that already have the connection with the sea. So this little knowledge that you think they learn in school, The next minute you give them boats, they'll go to the sea, fish and come back. But if you want to wait until now that they are failed gradually, you give them boats, they'll use those same boats and get to Spain.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for that intervention. I'll actually allow the panelists to actually respond. I saw the minister beaming when he mentioned the aspect of the budget to be increased. Yes. I'll invite Mr. Gomez to actually respond to the questions asked.
Thank you very much for your concern, particularly the one that asked question about returnees, that they have written to the ministry and a series of follow-ups and there was no response. I must apologize that it happened. I'm not in that unit and I'm not sure whether I heard of that, but we will look into it. What you must know about the scholarship at the ministry, we have a scholarship advisory committee responsible for scholarship, and there are different types of scholarship. There is bilateral scholarship that comes from the different countries, and there are criteria set. Yes, it's true. Many people do apply, but at times we cannot, and that is why I talk about the alternative that we came up with, that is the revolving loan scheme. The revolving loan scheme is there to to counter support what you have just mentioned. It will not be kind of a competitive kind of fund. It was kind of a fund that you individually can apply. And then if you cannot compete with other international funding institutions, you will apply that fund. And then if you are qualified, they will give you the loan. It's like a loan sort of. After when you start working, then there will be a kind of payment process where you will settle that loan. It's another way of trying to reduce the inability to give scholarship to our young ones. And also the idea of this gentleman there who said that the Ministry of Higher Education and MOPSI, there is no continuity in terms of TVET. When you read our policy, there is what we call a sector policy, education sector policy. In that policy, strategies are there for TVET to start from basic education. And then you grow to the TVET institutions. But when you look at our TVET institutions, we have USET as the university. But we create other feeder in TVET institutions. We don't, as far as TVET is concerned, there is no failure in TVET. When you look at our education trajectory, you may not even go to a formal education, but there are ways that you can get yourself trained. That's what we call the RPL, recognition of prior learning. You go through that, and then when you feel you have the potential to do certain things, because we are talking about hands-on, NACA is there to help you. National Accreditation Authority is there to help you. Assessors will come and assess you. If you can do the job, they will certificate you. And that certification will be equivalent to whoever goes to the formal sector. And that is the way we are trying to reduce the trouble that we are having now. I think I've responded, and I don't know whether there's other issues that you want to. But these are the questions that I picked. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, MC. I just wanted to add to what Director Gomez just said. With MOHAS, I can assure you that we already have an interministerial TVET committee that is comprising MOPSI and MOHAS. The directors from MOPSI and the technical staff inclusive, with MOHAS as well, we are in that committee. And that is looking at how do we ensure quality TVET. I mean quality technical senior secondary schools. Like, remember, Rome was not built in a day. This idea of reviving technical, senior secondary schools has just come in. But of course, expanding access is one thing, ensuring quality is another. And we know TVET is expensive. In order to make sure you have quality, you need equipment. And this is where partnership comes in, because we know government cannot do it alone. But I can assure you in the next few years to come, you will begin to see, tangible outcomes of these interventions. But again, in terms of inclusive and expanding access, Muhas, I'm sure you are aware, recently launched the Madarasa integration through the World Bank Rights Support. Right now, the minister has established a Madrasa, board. That has already started working. Of course, that committee, the key leaders are the MOPSI and Muhas. So that we are looking at the curricula to make sure the alignment is there, so that Madrasa students, because we know what used to happen when you finish Madrasa, you go up to grade 12 and go and start grade 7 if you want to go through the, the conventional system. That one is not going to be the case anymore. Madrasa going through, the difference is just the language. They speak Arabic, we speak English. But why should that deter them from becoming doctors, from becoming engineers? So that is the narrative we want to change. But honestly, a lot is happening in the background. Yes, there are some quality issues, but we can assure you. And with migration, I can assure you I am the focal point. I've been on the IOM and so on. Probably some of your letters fall somewhere and this, but I'm sure, just like Director James mentioned, there are some criteria. But this is everybody's business. We want to make sure our youth stay in the country and realize their potentials, because we know they are intelligent, they can do it. And the ministry is there with all the other ministries to ensure this happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister. No, you mind comment? Jates wants to capture this.
Thank you. I think there was only one concern from our Lady Councillor. But of course, yes, we want to welcome all the people that spoke earlier. And my mom is here. She came here without telling me she's coming here. So I was surprised to see her here. But yeah, we appreciate all of your coming. Now, the issue of migration, and the Lady Councillor did talk about. It's good that she mentioned that Interior is the one in charge when it comes to the young people here in the country. But in the same vein, the young people that are outside the country are equally not under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. They are under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Gambians abroad, because they are considered to be Gambians who are outside the country. And whether you are a male or a female or young or old, as long as you leave the source of this country, you are no longer under the purview of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Even if you are young, you are under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that is the issue that maybe these conversations need to pick. And we did discuss it in other places. The way we approach migration issue is from two perspectives. One is the security point of view. And that's where Interior comes in. To say, okay, Minister of Interior, you control the borders so that young people do not go through immigration and all that. But that is not changing the situation, because young people are now overstretching the security operation. They are in Tangier today. The security comes to Tangier, they move to North Bank. When the security try to control North Bank, they move to Fonyi. The last boat went from Bondale. Are we going to spread ourselves in that way? How much money is the security spending to control all these border posts? So those are the issues. So government needs to look at it properly and respond adequately to what needs to be done. The projects that come into the country to respond to migration, Youth and Sport is not involved in those projects. They are either at the Ministry of Trade, or they are at the Ministry of Interior, or the coordination at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And yet still, these people that are going are considered to be young people. And the population out there don't even understand this. That's why when things happen, they say the Minister of Youth and Sport is keeping quiet, he's not saying anything. We keep quiet because we are not in charge. And these are the realities. So we don't come out and take responsibility for something that is not under our care. And so it has to be government. When I was appointed newly, we pursued these things. And we said, even in the NCM, the Minister of Youth and Sport don't sit there. We are sitting at a technical level where the Youth Council is representing the ministry. But where the decisions are made at the policy level, you don't sit in that. Because maybe the understanding is, it's a migration issue, it's a security issue, and so these sectors, foreign affairs, you take charge, interior takes charge. So that's the challenge. However, it's important to say, migration is not like it started 10 years ago. It's been here. I have an uncle who left when I was 3 years old. I was told he went on the back way. He went and got himself stuck in Gabon. He's still in Gabon. That's where he lives. It has been here. Just that maybe the magnitude has gotten worse, and the media coverage of these issues is getting more and more prominent because we have more media houses now. Everybody talks about it. But we have to respond to the issue as a government. Does it mean that we are not concerned? No, we are. All of these programs that government is bringing on board, whether it's in the higher education sector or it's in our Ministry of Youth and Sports, is to respond to the needs of the young people. But they're not adequate. You said it's been constructed or it's complete. They're bringing so many programs. It's to target the young people. The Institutes of Excellence for Fishing, for rice cultivation, is for the young people. I did mention about our agricultural program. We have an example here, Mr. Saar, who talks about how he is able to benefit from programs that are run by the ministry. So the programs are there. It's more of young people coming on board. But one thing I want to conclude on is for all of us to tell our young people the truth. The idea of saying, oh, your government is not creating enough opportunity for young people, that's why they are going, for me, it's a driver. We are encouraging young people to go because everybody thinks the same thing, that young government is not doing so much. Every young people believe it. But does that mean that they have to sacrifice their life and go? No. We need to tell the young people that make use of the opportunities available in the country and try to start small and develop. That's what we need to tell them. And if we tell them that, if everybody tells them that, then they will hear it and they will listen, they will learn to appreciate what they have here. Today, people are here, permanent secretaries, directors, businessmen, ministers. All of us face the same thing that these young people are facing. But we did not take the back way. We stayed here, educated ourselves, or trained ourselves to become who we are. Because we had belief, we had people to orient us to say, stay. There is hope, do this, do that. But now it's like every message is like, oh, there is no hope. And young people hear that, and they want to leave. Our parents are the ones selling our cows to give it to them to go. People are the ones selling their lands to give it to their children to go. If you take a 50,000 from a land sale and invest it in a business like Alpha did, you could have been able to make something. Alaji Manka is here. I bet he is the one that decorated here. I listened to an interview of him, and he said he was giving a 30,000 loan by somebody to set up State of Mike. Today, State of Mike is winning big contracts. Can't other people do the same thing they can? And I have examples. Myself, I tell people I drove taxi when I was going to GTTI. I get off, I drive between Westfield and Banjul, and I collect $25 from passengers. I was selling craft because my dad was doing it. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I go to Serekunda Market and sell. No, not Serekunda Market, the craft market. And sell at the craft market and make money. That's how I paid my school fees. But we must be able to tell our young people that we must be able to be hardworking. Otherwise, what is happening now? We are opening up our border. We have so many people coming from neighboring countries. They are working in the construction sector. They are working in our agricultural sector. But our young people don't want to do that kind of job. And yet, few people believe there's no job. If there's no job, what are those foreign nationals doing here? There is. But if you're not a university graduate, you don't get a university job. You must be able to educate yourself to be able to uplift yourself from that poverty to a better life. These are the things that we must have those conversations, frankly. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That was quite detailed, and I think it's expansive. We should be able to take cue from what he said. These are the realities that we have on the ground, and I think we always need to ask ourselves these honest questions and have it reflected deeply and see what do we need to do to change the status quo. On that note, I'll want you to give, again, a round of applause to the panelists for their deliberations as they take their seats, and I'll invite the next set of panelists, which will be led by Mr. Saul Fraser, CEO of Global Properties, and the topic that they'll be talking about is youth as drivers of economic growth and prosperity, the case of the informal workforce. I'll invite, part of the panelists will be Honorable Samba Balda, Diaspora Representative, Mam Lisa, CEO, NEDI. Is Mam Lisa around? Mr. Modu Sise, Youth Against Irregular Migration. Mr. Usainu Senghor, CEO, GAIPA. The panel is male dominated and there is no she. I wish Ma'am Lisa were here so that at least, yes, but I'll invite Mr. Saul Fraser to deliver on the topic.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished panelists, permanent secretaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor to participate in this third national dialogue as part of our 61st independent anniversary celebrations. Today we are discussing harnessing the Gambia's human capital and infrastructure resources for inclusive leap to prosperity. Now, allow me to focus on the critical dimension of that conversation, which is youth as drivers of economic growth, but with a particular focus on the informal workforce. First of all, let's acknowledge the reality. I mean, we've talked so much about the youthful population of the Gambia, but it's not only just political, but demographically as well. And a significant majority under the age of 25. But you ask yourself, where are many of these young people economically active? They are definitely in the informal sector. They are the street vendors in our markets. They are the tailors and mechanics, taxi drivers and small traders, carpenters and welders, construction laborers, food vendors, and small service providers. Now, they may not appear in formal payroll systems. They may not have the structured contracts, but they are working, and they're working every single day. The informal workforce is not marginal to our economy. It is foundational to it. As a property developer, let me speak from experience. In real estate and infrastructural development, we rely heavily on young working individuals within the informal space. On construction sites across the country, you'll find young bricklayers, both male and female, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and laborers. And most of them are not formally registered businesses. Most of them do not have structured certifications. But yet, without them, no building stands. Without them, there's no housing expansion. Without them, no tourist infrastructure. Without them, no industrial growth. And without them, definitely no physical development. They're literally building physical foundations of this nation. The question is whether they are contributing. The question is whether our systems are structured to maximize their contributions. The informal sector is an engine, but it has constraints. Our youth in the formal workforce face major structural barriers. You have access to finance. Most banks here would require collateral, financial records, and formal registrations. But most young informal workers do not have any of these. So their businesses remain small, not because of the lack of ambition, but lack of access. Skills without certification. Many of them do acquire skills through apprenticeships. They learn by doing, and they work extremely hard. But they also lack formal technical certification, standardization, standardized training. They lack safety accreditations, and they also lack business management knowledge. This limits their ability to scale or bid for larger contracts or access structured opportunities. There are also formalization barriers. When we speak about formalizing the informal sector, we must be honest. Is business registration simple? Are taxations flexible for micro enterprises? And are the processes youth-friendly? And most of the cases, you'll get a no answer. If formalization feels like punishment instead of opportunity, young people will definitely avoid it. We have limited exposure and mindset constraints because many of these youth think small because of the system they are surrounded with. They have never seen structured supply chains, they've never seen export pathways, and they've never seen scalable enterprise models. Yet the potential is enormous. The economic opportunity before us, if we improve productivity of the informal youth workforce by, let's say, even 20 to 30%, the macroeconomic impact would be very transformative. Now, imagine skilled artisans certified and organized, micro enterprises accessing digital payments, youth own some contracting firms participating in infrastructural projects, informal traders integrated into structured value chains. This is how inclusive prosperity becomes practical and not theoretical. We must ask our question, what must be done? Now, allow me to propose some practical steps. I believe in formalizing without penalizing. So we need to simplify business registration processes, tier tax structures for non-micro enterprises, create more digital platforms for EC compliance. Formalization must come with incentives as well, like access to finance, contracts, and protections. Someone mentioned mentorship earlier, and I want to echo that importance of how government and private sector must collaborate. When I was in Sweden, I was part of a project called Investors in People. And what happened was we had companies taking a number of youths into their companies. And in return, they were giving certain incentives. Could be tax break, could be certain things. But the higher the number you were able to take and train, there were incentives available for you. Looking at constructions alone, we can create certified trade programs, safety training modules, and skilled upgrading pathways. Link training directly to active infrastructural projects. As developers, we are ready to participate in structured training pipelines that upgrade skills while meeting market demands. We must also unlock youth-targeted microcredit, performance-based lending, mobile banking integration, diaspora-backed enterprise funds. If remittances into this country are substantially, even a fraction, that can be strategically used to scale up businesses. Major public and private developments should encourage subcontracting to youth-owned enterprises, offer paid apprenticeships, and create local workforce, including frameworks. Inclusive development must be measurable. The digital empowerment cannot be overemphasized. Informal must not mean invisible. We must promote digital payment adoptions, social media marketing training, basic financial literacy, and e-commerce integration. The digital economy can formalize activity without heavy bureaucracy. There should also be a shift in the mindset. We must stop seeing informal youths as unemployed. They are economically active. What they lack is structure, capital, protection, and skill. If we build systems around their effort, we unlock prosperity. If we ignore them, we suppress growth. In conclusion, the leap to prosperity will not come from importing solutions alone. It will come from organizing, empowering, structuring the talent that is already present in our markets, in our workshops, in our construction sites, and our streets. Our youth are not waiting for opportunities. They're already working. Our responsibility as policymakers, private sector leaders, and citizens is to build the enabling environment that turn efforts into enterprise, and enterprise into national prosperity. Imagine we get this right. The informal workforce will not only remain informal, it will become the backbone of inclusive transformation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Saul Fraser, CEO, Global Properties. One interesting aspect about his deliberation is that it takes cue from what has been discussed just when the minister was here, especially in the aspect of the informal sector. But the aspect of the challenges he made mention of are things that we need to put into consideration. That I will hold, and I probably know some of us will actually want to ask questions later on to the panelists. I'll invite Mr. Samba Balde, diaspora representative, to give us his perspective on this topic.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon to all of you. I am not very good at observing protocols, and so you can excuse me for that. So when Ms. Ami Bojang Sissoho reached out to me and said, Samba, would you like to participate in the national dialogue? I said, yes, easily. And so when she came back and said, would you like to be a panelist? I started asking myself, am I decultured enough to be able to present here without offending people or observing like the protocol that you all did and making sure that I am speaking within the Gambian context, but also within the Gambian culture? So that was challenging. But at the end of the day, I did say yes. And then I started thinking, what am I going to say? It's a dialogue. Am I just going to have a table where everybody says something and then we aggregate that and present it to something and get something going? And I didn't know what the answers are. So what I decided to do was to share my story as a person, but also speak a little bit about what I think the diaspora can bring to the table and what the challenges and opportunities are in the Gambia. So my name is Samba Balde. I am a native of the Gambia. I was born in the rural area in Nyamina Choya. Started my education there at the primary school, ended up in Banjul at Mohammedan, went to Armitage, came back to Gambia High School for sixth form, and then now, basically at that point, education was over. You know, you go and look for a job. But the University of the Gambia was in the making. You know, we had partnership with Canada, Nova Scotia Gambia Association, so I applied and started going to the University of the Gambia. But at the same time, I was a young man. I didn't know too much of what the globe looked like and what the opportunities were. But I believed that I should do something. So not only did I look for a job, I also looked at for something that I can do with young people. So I started the Kanifing Issue Development Society. And then I started working with other youth organizations like Ya in Josuang, Lend a Hand, and many others, Baikau in Bakau. To address some of these challenges that we are talking about. From day immemorial, from day number one, I keep telling people, there's been immigration. And from day number one, there has been challenges with young people and women, and generally humanity. So I did my best, started a youth organization, and started skill centers at the Kanifing. I see our Minister of Youth and Sport who ran to be mayor of Kanifing. I started working with the Kanifing Municipal Council also at the time to use their community center at the Kanifing estate. And so we started providing services. We started putting dustbins at people's home and things like that. So as a young person, that was inspiring. Some of the people that I brought into that association still work at KMC. Some of the initiatives that we started with institutions became academic institutions in this country, where people go to school and get certification. So each and every one of us, in my humble opinion, is responsible for addressing some of the challenges that we are faced with today. Adama Barrow alone and his government cannot fix it. Sol Fraser alone and his real estate cannot fix it. Ami Bensouda alone and her Ami Bojang Sissoho and her communication skills cannot fix it. Ask yourself, what are you doing? Gaipa cannot fix it. I cannot fix it. How do we fix it? All of us has to hold ourselves accountable to some of these challenges. So I left for the United States to go to school and also look for opportunities. Prior to going, I also faced a lot of challenges in terms of obtaining visas. But one thing that I said to myself that I'll not do is to attempt to go to Senegal to hustle through a bag way or something. You have to go to Senegal, I have to establish that and go. Or if I have to go to America, I have to get a visa and go to America. It was tough. If I tell people that I submitted at the American embassy 9 times before I get a visa, they don't believe me. But I did it 9 times before they finally gave me a visa. Along the way, I was still doing my youth activism and still working. I never used the bagway or any other illegal means of leaving this country. The opportunities you found here are the same opportunities you find in America. Many of us who left here and are in America are cleaning bathrooms, are taking care of people who cannot take care of themselves, are at the farms farming for white people. They can do that here and be successful. Somebody in the audience say he doesn't know about the pound, the dollar, or the euro. What he knows is the dollars. The jobs that we do there can be done here and you become a millionaire in dollars. So my day job is software engineering, and I did that for more than 2 decades in corporate America. But the fact that I am oriented, what makes me happy and feel fulfilled is giving back to others, community service, advocacy for others. So I did that here. I immigrated to the United States. I did the same thing. Advocated for other people, advocated for black people, advocated for Africa and Africans. I did that until I realized that I've hit the wall now. There's no way my advocacy can produce anything. I decided that despite I am making a lot of money in corporate America as an engineer, it was time to do something for my people. Because at the end of the day for me, is what did you do to make this world a better place? All of us, no matter how much we go to the church or to the mosque or to the masjid, in our last days in this world, we reflect on what we did, not how much we prayed or how much we went to church. So I decided that now that I've hit the wall on my advocacy, let me do something else. I decided to run for an office, an elected office. So I ran for my local city council against somebody who was super rich, not just rich, but very, very rich and wealthy and well connected. At the time, my accent was Nyamina Choya accent, not even generally Gambia accent. But I decided I'll run because I have confidence in me and I have confidence in black people. So I ran for an office against somebody who was there at least for 5 times. I sent an email to a few friends and I said, let's meet at a coffee shop. They started asking for what and all that kind of stuff. I said, that's why I said, let's meet so I can tell you why we are meeting. We met and I said to them, I'm running for office. All of them thought I was crazy. We are going nowhere. We cannot win and all that kind of stuff. But I believe in myself and I believe in black people generally. And the biggest reason why I really decided to run, apart from just being an advocate, was the fact that 9/11 had happened. I happen to be a Muslim who live in America. I also happen to be a black person who lived in America. They started defining me who I was as a Muslim. I didn't want anybody to define me. What also was happening at the time, if you paid attention to American politics or socio-cultural things, you realize that at the time. Okay, how much do I have? All right, so, so all right, I have 3 minutes. So in the evening news, when you tune on the news in the United States, most of what you see was black people being killed by police officers. And the following news cycle, they'll come on the news and say the police acted within the context of the law and nobody is prosecuted. I didn't think that was fair and that was just. So these are some of the reasons I ran for office. I served at our city council for 6 years. At some point, I was the council president running the whole city, and that's the capital city. I time limit myself. I said 6 years was enough. I'm going to run for something. If I win, fine. If I fail, I do something else. I ran for our state as a state legislator, and I won. Again, against a primary of Democrats, and eventually against a Republican candidate. And I won, and I served there for 4 years. Again, I time limited myself, and I said, this is enough. I ran for Senate. I didn't succeed on that one. But I still have the opportunity to run again and be a part of that process. The reason I'm telling this story is that we can all be successful in the Gambia. We can all be successful in our own terms. Before I left for the United States, I started an agency, like I said, that has created a lot of opportunities for people. In the United States, I did the same. So, but to the subject and to what I think the diaspora can do, here are a few things that I think we could do. One of the challenges that we all have identified, most of the speakers, if not all, is lack of access to capital. What the diaspora can do best. I always, like to reference the guy who said he doesn't know the dollar, the pound, or the euro. The dollar, the guy who don't know that, is more powerful than the Gambian dollars. So if the diaspora can come together, or just myself, recently we launched what we call the One Nyamina Association. The 3 Nyaminas came together. The reason for that, since I went to the United States, everybody asked me, Samba, can you give me money to pay school fees for my kids? And every next person also asked me, Samba, can you give me money to buy food? That has been the theme for almost all the 27 years that I've been in the United States. It has not changed. So my money has not been able to sustain anything. When I die, those people will continue to have those same problems. Or when I cannot provide for them, they'll continue to have the same problem. So let's build institutions. Let's give access to finance a possibility. So when we coordinate ourselves, most of America do their microfinancing in the Southern America or places like that. They give an average of about $200 to $300 to people to do business. When they go to do the assessment years after, most of those people are independent now. They are able to educate their kids and do other small businesses. How can we work with the diaspora to make sure that we have an institutionalized way of sending money to Gambia or the African continent? You all know I don't have to go to how many remittances we send here. It's a lot of money, but it's not institutionalized. The biggest challenge that we have in many cases as African is this idea of the collective. I, as an individual, I consider myself successful. Almost every Gambian in the United States generally is successful. But collectively, we cannot do anything. Collectively, we cannot do anything. And that has a lot to do with trust and the willingness to invest time. When we were having lunch, I was sitting with some very young people, 20-something years old. One of them was talking about wanting to be a National Assembly member. And I asked her, what institution do you anchor on to be a National Assembly member? Do you know how to be a National Assembly member? And she couldn't answer those questions well. We need training around that. The example I gave her is, if you want to run for a National Assembly, you got to raise funds to be successful. You got to understand how to deal with your opponent to be successful. You got to understand how to navigate the political thing to be successful. Do we have institutions that train people who want to run for office? We don't. We advocate for women, but our advocacy around women is to say, let the president appoint women to serve with the National Assembly or at the city councils. That is not strong advocacy. What is strong advocacy is us to build institutions so we can support women to run for office and win. That's where you have the credibility. So let's work together that way. I'll run through some of the things that I really think they should know, and then I'll give you back your mic. So knowledge and skills transfer. I'm a software engineer. I'm a politician in the United States. I have experienced it all. How can we leverage the knowledge, the skills that we have in the diaspora here? I think the biggest barrier is lack of trust between government and the diaspora. Also between the diaspora and the people that they are dealing with, particularly their families. You send money, say, buy me a home from Mr. Fraser. They said, okay, I went there, get an invoice from Fraser for, let's say, $500,000, and they send their family members or friend $1 million something. You send that $1 million, he goes give him maybe $500,000 for a 20 by 20 when you're expecting 50 by 50. And you send money again to build that. You come back home thinking that you are not going to spend the night at the Senegambia hotel or something. You go to your home, there's not even water. So this mistrust is really what is holding us behind. So I'd call on the government and our family members to build trust and make sure that we can comfortably, but also build institutions where, say for example, if you take places like Pakistan, which is way out there, their diaspora is so organized and they have multi-million dollars funds that they can invest in their country. In the Gambia, not long ago, the central bank and others went to the United States trying to coordinate funding of a bypass road from Sting Corner to around Birkama. It cannot succeed without institution. We got to build institution, and that takes forever to build. So you got to be willing to deal with it. But if you want to just plan for today, we cannot be successful. Some of the trees that you build or plant or mangoes or something, you don't do them just because you want to eat them. You do them because you want your kids or your grandkids to eat them. So if we have to build institutions, we have to build them not for us, but for generations to come. The other thing that I think is important is access to market. So apart from being a politician in the US, I also serve on the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I made sure I brought them to the Gambia. The idea was to organize a trade mission. They told me Gambia is a very small market and all that kind of stuff. But I told them Americans are curious about the Gambia because they have elected a Gambian. And therefore the size of the Gambia should not matter to you. What matters to you is how much you can market what is available. So I was able to convince them to come to sub-Saharan Africa, including the Gambia. I met with over 40 businesses. The most challenging thing was following up with those businesses. We got to be serious about stuff. We cannot just talk and talk and talk and talk and drop the ball and go our business. And people must be held accountable. When we started in the morning, most of these places were occupied, and I'll go there as, permanent secretaries and senior government officers. They are gone. Who is going to give them what is discussed here and they act to it? The whole idea when we started was to make sure that, they hear everything that was discussed. I can guarantee you, just like the Ministry of Education said, some of those letters that they were sent to them and they didn't receive went to different places maybe. Where are these minutes going to go? Where are the recommendations going to go? Who's going to see them? Let's challenge each other. This is not about politics. It's about making the Gambia a better place than we found it. The other thing is, is the technology part of it. Like I said, I'm a software engineer, did that for more than 2 decades. Without technology, all these things that we are talking about, like the university has been talking about all day, will not work. How do we support e-commerce, for example? E-government, for example. The countries should have been able to, everybody should have, just like in my wallet, the only thing you find there is cards, maybe 2-3 cards. I don't carry money, nothing. But in the Gambia, you go into my car now, it has a bag of dollars inside there. This is how we minimize leakage of money. This is how we minimize leakage of money. So these are some of the things that I think we can work with the diaspora on and make Gambia a better place, give opportunity to our young people. And I keep telling people also, any government, whether it's Adama Barrow's government or Jawara's government, works within the context of the law. If you have any problems or things that you think are not working for these young people that we are trying to help, go to your National Assembly member. I've asked a few people during lunch and when I meet people, who is your National Assembly member? Who is your City Council member? A good chunk of them don't even know. And when I ask, have you ever asked for a meeting with them? Basically, all of them will say no. So how can you move a country forward if you don't engage the legislators? You cannot. So I apologize for being on the mic forever, but when you give the politician the microphone, then you know what to expect. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your intervention. I wanted to, but I'll actually just plead with the subsequent speakers coming. We still have a panel to go, and your inputs are really needed for the document, especially when it comes to the recommendations. And in as much as we'll want you to deliver on the points that have been stated, especially on the topic, we'll also want to give the audience ample time as possible to be able to ask questions and give their recommendations as well as contributions. So I'll invite Mr. Modu Sise from the Youth Against Irregular Migration, who actually asked a question during the last panel. And I think the deliberation will take you from that. Thank you.
Greetings to you all. My name is Modu Sise. I am a Bagwe returnee from Tunisia. I'm here representing Youth Against Irregular Migration. Regarding the topic that we have here, youth as drivers of economic growth, I would like to approach it in the migrant returnees' perspectives. But first of all, I would like to tell you how those Youth Against Irregular Migration comes about and what led us, the returnees, fully active in advocacy against irregular migration. YEM was founded in Libyan prison in 2016 by Gambians who found themselves in Libya and then decided to found the organization, return back to the Gambia and use their experience to raise awareness. And as we talk about youths being drivers for economic growth, the back way has taught me what I have never expected doing in the Gambia here. Like many young people, I leave the Gambia because lack of 1 or 2 opportunities, and I think that I will find the way greener and I'll find it easy to reach Europe and then achieve my dream down there. But immediately when I exited the Gambia, I realized that the things were not as expected, as easy as I expected they will be. I face a lot of difficulties, and alongside with many other Gambians. But one thing I have carried along upon my way back to the Gambia is the belief in my country and the belief that no matter what happened, all of us, the young people, can achieve whatever we want here in the Gambia. And as we talk about youth being drivers of economic growth, in the back way, I have accepted doing a work that I've never expected to do in the Gambia. And one of the work that we do there as backway returnees, in order to move from one place to another, is construction. There are many story buildings that you will see in the backway, in particular Algeria and Tunisia. The way we see non-Gambians in the construction, that's the way Gambians are there in the construction. And this is what we didn't accept to do in our country for most of us. And upon coming back home, any kind of a work that we have, we're going to do it because we know that we are out there building people's countries and not our country. And another thing also we have learned from the journey is farming. Most of the young people, including myself, I come from Jokadu, where I do farming throughout my childhood. And upon going to school, when I graduated, even when my parents tell me come to the farm, I will tell them no, I'm on studies, I'm on this, because I never wanted to go to the farm. But when I embark on the journey, I spent several weeks in the Sahara Desert, in the gardens of those smugglers. We work for them without being paid. And that's a job that many young people don't want to do here in the Gambia. And this is why upon returning back to the Gambia, the first rainy season, I spent the entire rainy season in the farms, because that was what I've been doing there in the journey. And I encourage every young person to also do the same. But also, we learn to acquire skills. Honestly, the most important thing that I have learned in the journey is acquiring skills. We used to have one USET graduate among us. He was the only one enjoying because he was skillful. And when we lacked electricity where we were, there was a compound next to us. What he did was he used his skills to make sure that we get electricity from that compound to where we were hiding. And then he was very, very important to us down there, and because of his skills. And we have among them drivers also. When smugglers come, those of us who suffer are those without skills. They always ask us, what can you do? And people like me just say, I was a teacher because I left the teaching field and went to Backway. I speak English, they don't speak English, so they don't need my service. That's not a skill. But those who have skills were the people that we are benefiting from any enjoyment opportunity that comes along the way. So in that note, I have understand that the young people like myself need to acquire skills. And the blame game has to be over. Before I used to blame the government, but when I returned, despite all my complaint about scholarships, I work both day and night and handle private study classes just to pay for my university education without relying on the government. But still I make the complaint for others who don't have the opportunity to speak. So I believe every young person out there should know that irregular migration continues and we cannot stop it unless and until we believe in our country. And for that being the case, I am encouraging every one of us, more especially our parents, suñu yaay yi nga xam ne ñu ngi toog fii nii ñu bari ñi ma tase si yoon bi tamit dañ am parents yi ñoo leen jàppale te foog naa lu tam ngay increase the irregular migration. So ñu ngi la naay ñaan képp ki nga xam ne dugg na si Backway bi dafa am ku nekk si gannaawam kooku su fa nekk doon duñ mun a continuer from one place to another. So xaalis boobu noonu doo sometimes dañ ko dee find difficult pour ñu jox ñu ko fii moo tax dañ dee believe ne suñ demee si Backway rek la ñu ko dee jox. But I believe so we cut that channel, most of us will come back home. And finally, to conclude, the lady councillors talk about Gambians being stranded in Libya and out there. I was there in Libyan in Tunisian prison. It was unfortunate that we could not have the connections with our government, but I understand that because of the channel that smugglers take us through, the government have no access down there. Then you do finger is like the government's in Banjul and we are in Basse, and they cannot get any communication with them. So it's difficult for everyone out there, but I'm encouraging every young person to believe in his or her country and know that the grass is not greener in the other side of the river. And the Sahara Sea and ozone never forgive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Momodu Sise. I think that's thought-provoking, quite inspiring indeed. I'll end with the panel deliberation with Mr. Ousseynou Senghor, who is the CEO of GAIPA, before I hand it over to the audience for their intervention.
Thank you very much, Moderator Chairman. Good afternoon to everybody, Honorable Ministers present, Permanent Secretaries, and other protocols respectively observed. I think as we mark the 64th anniversary of the country, and thanks to the Office of the President for convening the third national dialogue, we are reminded that the wealth of the Gambia lies not only in our land or infrastructure, but in our people, especially our youths. Youths are not mere beneficiaries of development. They are the architects of transformation, the energy that powers our nations leap forward towards prosperity. Today, more than 60% of Gambians are under the age of 25. This should not just be a statistic. We believe that this should be a call for action. It's a reminder that the future is not tomorrow. The future already is here, and it is the young. What we also look at from our perspective as GAIPA is the level of the informal sector, where most of these youths and women operate. And the informal sector, they and their livelihoods is often seen as a challenge, but let us reframe it. The informal sector is not a weakness. It is an untapped engine of productivity. Consider this. The informal sector accounts for about 70 to 80% of employment. MSMEs represent over 90% of businesses, yet most operate outside the formal system with limited access to finance and market. Imagine the transformation even if 20% of these people, enterprises, are formalized and scaled. The impact that it will have on tax revenue generation, job creation, financial inclusion, export competitiveness would be revolutionized. So what do we believe at GAIPA? At GAIPA, we believe in the capacity building. We offer the Empatech model, and we have trained youths to be entrepreneurs of their own. Others have subsequently become trainers of their own. And most of the BSOs that are operating today in this country, business support organizations, were one-time GAIPA trainees under the Empatech model. So we also train women in terms of bookkeeping. How do they keep their records? And the youths. In terms of how do they prepare project proposals? How do they prepare guidelines? How do they make bids? How do they make services? So we also look at investment linkages. What we try to do is look at the bigger players and encourage an outgrower scheme whereby they can source materials or labor from those at the lower end, particularly the youth and women businesses. We look at in terms of market facilitations. How do we make sure that they have access to markets? How do we make sure that goods that they produce can be delivered on time to the markets? Particularly if you look at it, most of our agricultural and fishery goods are perishable, and we need timely delivery of this. So this is why we try to look at the agri value chain and the digital service. That's why in GAIPA we try to build an e-marketing platform, which is, if you use Amazon, is modern Amazon, where both the buyer and the seller can use. Wherever you are in this country, you can upload your produce so that somebody else can see it and do the transactions. Now, in terms of business formalization, we've launched an office in Farafenni, which today is helping most of those businesses. I think, as alluded to by one of the speakers before, where you struggle to register your businesses. In Farafenni, what we do is either weekly or monthly, our staff will go around, collect all the fame, prepare all the documentations, and bring it. And as this SG is here, we're trying to work with SG so that they can also deploy an officer in Farafenni. That way, they don't have to come to Banjul. The registration can be done